If you have not subscribed to our channel, please consider doing so and hit the notification buttons. We're going into the season of Advent, and there are very salient questions that we need to clarify and a few things about this season that we need to know. The Advent season begins officially the new year of the church and the liturgical life of the church. Advent is a season that brings to mind the two comings of Jesus Christ. Most of us have an intuitive understanding of Advent. That's true, based on experience, but what do the church's official documents and teaching and position tell us about this season? So here, therefore, we have very few questions pertaining to this season to deepen our knowledge about this season. First, what is Advent? The Holy Mother Church begins a new liturgical year with the first Sunday of Advent. Advent is a season observed in many Christian churches as a time of expectant waiting and preparation for both the celebration of the Nativity of our Lord Jesus Christ at Christmas, as well as the return of our dear Lord at His second coming. The word Advent comes from the Latin word adventus, which means coming or arrival. It is a rendition from the Greek root parousia, which implies the end or the second coming of Christ. Another major question will be, when did the celebration Advent began in history as we have it today? In the 6th century, Advent was tied to the coming of Christ. But the coming Christians had in mind was not Christ's first coming in the manger in Bethlehem, but His second coming in the clouds as Judge of the world. It was not until the Middle Ages that Advent season was explicitly linked to Christ's first coming at Christmas. Advent, as we know today, was developed in Rome. Pope Gregory I in the late 6th and early 7th century composed many of the prayers, antiphons, as well as psalm responses. The first important sacred musical form in the medieval period was the Gregorian chant. It was the first official music of the Roman Catholic Church. The chant was named after Pope Gregory I, who gave support and lended great impetus to church music by gathering together and codifying the various chants into a body of religious musical literatures. The function of the Gregorian chants, was simply for worship and lifting of the faithful into a spiritual exaltation that was completely detached of the world. Next question. Of what essence and what purpose is the Advent? According to the general norms for the liturgical year and the church's calendar, Advent has twofold character. First, as a season to prepare for Christmas when Christ's first coming to us is remembered, as accounted in John's Gospel, chapter 1, verse 14. The Word became flesh and dwelt amongst us, full of grace and truth. As a season too, when that remembrance directs our mind and heart to await Christ's second coming at the end of time, when we talk about the parousia earlier. Advent, therefore, is thus a period for devout and joyful expectation. Norms number 89. We tend to think of Advent only as the season in which we prepare for Christ or the first coming of Christ. But as the general norms points out, it is important also that we remember it as a celebration in which we look forward to the second coming of Christ. So, putting it in perspective, therefore, and speaking of it properly, Advent, we can say, is a season that brings to mind the two comings of Christ. The first already accomplished, the second which is awaited. Is Advent a penitential season? We often think of Advent as a penitential season because so very often we just look externally. The liturgical color for Advent is violet. like the color for Lent, which is a fully penitential season with full penitential content and character. However, in reality, Advent is not a penitential season. Are you shocked? Are you surprised? Not at all. You shouldn't be. Okay, so Advent, according to the Code of Canon Law, Canon 1250, that is 1252, reminds us that the penitential days and times in the Universal Church are every Friday of the whole year and the season of Lent. So you see, but again, this does not mean that we don't do penance in Advent, or we don't have sacramental confessions or requests for penance from our priest and all of that. Every day we can do that, but the church has specified clearly that the character of Advent is that of hopeful and faithful expectation and waiting for Christ's coming. Coming that I already said is in twofold. So, in terms of history, let us ask, when does Advent begin and when does it end? Now, we go back again to the official document of the church. In number 40 of the General Norms, it says Advent begins with the evening prayer 1 of the Sunday falling on or closest to 30th November and ends before evening prayer 1 of Christmas. The Sunday or closest to November 30th can range between November 27th and December 3rd, depending on the year. In the case of a Sunday, evening prayer 1 is said on the evening of the preceding day, which is a Saturday. According to the general instruction of the Liturgy of the Hours, evening prayer celebrated immediately before Mass is joined to it in the same way as morning prayer. Evening prayer 1 of solemnities of Sundays or Feast of the Lord falling on Sundays may not be celebrated until after Mass of the preceding day or Saturday. This means that Advent begins on the evening of a Saturday falling between November 26th and December 2nd, inclusive, and it ends on the evening of December 24th, which holds evening prayer 1 of Christmas, December 25th. I hope this is clear. I know it's, if you just follow the analysis, you get it covered. Now, what is the role of Sundays in Advent? There are 4 Sundays of Advent. The General Norms number 41 states, the Sundays of this season are named the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th Sundays of Advent. The 3rd Sunday of Advent has a very unique and special name called Gaudete Sunday. Gaudete is the Latin expression, or word rather, which means rejoice. It is the first word of the introit of the Mass for the day, that is the 3rd Sunday, for that day. The church ascribes particular importance to these Sundays and they take precedence over other liturgical celebrations. Thus, the General Norms number 5 reminds us, I quote, because of its special importance, the Sunday celebration gives way only to solemnities or Feast of the Lord. The Sundays of the season of Advent, Lent, or Easter, however, take precedence over all solemnities and Feast of the Lord. Solemnities occurring on these Sundays are observed on the Saturdays preceding it. You also cannot celebrate funeral masses on the Sundays of Advent. Compare General Instruction of the Roman Missal number 380. And what happens on the weekdays in Advent? The church recommends that at all the masses there should be homilies, no matter how brief. On Sundays and holidays, according to the Roman Missal, General Instruction number 66, on Sundays and holidays of obligation, there is to be a homily at every Mass that is celebrated with the people attending, and it may not be omitted without a grave reason. How are churches decorated during Advent? The general instruction of the Roman Missal notes, and I quote, during Advent, the floral decoration, which means plenty beautification of the altar, should be marked by a moderation, suited to the character of this season of the year. Without expression in anticipation, the full joy of the nativity of the Lord. So let us ask again, in terms of music, how is it to be performed during Advent? Advent, the use of the organ and other musical instruments should be marked by a moderation suited to the character of this time of the year, without expressing in anticipation the full joy of the nativity of the Lord. In Advent, the play in simple terms, no. What private devotions can we use to grow closer to God during Advent? Of course, the church has a deposit of spiritualities of all types and pious devotions and private devotions. There are a variety of private devotions that the church has recognized for use during Advent. The famous of all is the Advent wreath. Follow us for more as we journey through this season, and thank you for always being there following this channel. We're here because of you. It seems you have not subscribed to our channel. What are you waiting for? I think you should just consider doing that and help us to grow this channel. And follow the link we share with you, and share possibly in your forum too, and encourage others. Just what you do is evangelize and spread the word. God bless you. Anyway, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you'll be among the first to get highlights of our catechesis, teachings, and very importantly, homilies.